The origins of the Ten Commandments. The origins of the Ten Commandments lie in the narrative of the Israelites' journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. After escaping the bondage of slavery in Egypt, the Israelites wandered through the desert, led by Moses. It was during this arduous journey that they arrived at Mount Sinai, where God would deliver his divine law. Moses ascended Mount Sinai to commune with God, leaving the Israelites camped at its base. Amidst thunder, lightning, and a thick cloud covering the mountain, God's presence descended, instilling awe and reverence among the people. It was in this dramatic setting that God spoke to Moses, delivering the Ten Commandments, a moral code intended to guide the Israelites in their new life. The giving of the Ten Commandments was not merely a legal event, but a profound spiritual moment. God was establishing a covenant with his people, setting the foundations for a society built on justice, morality, and faithfulness. This moment marked a significant transition from a life of slavery to a community governed by divine principles. The Ten Commandments were inscribed on 2 stone tablets, symbolizing their permanence and divine origin. These commandments would become central to the religious, social, and ethical life of the Israelites, shaping their identity and guiding their actions generations. Moses and Mount Sinai. The story of Moses and Mount Sinai is one of the most pivotal moments in the Bible. Moses, chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, played a crucial role in receiving and conveying the Ten Commandments. This event took place at Mount Sinai, also known as Mount Horeb, a sacred site where God revealed his law to Moses. After leading the Israelites through the Red Sea and the desert, Moses climbed Mount Sinai to meet with God. The mountain was enveloped in smoke and fire, a manifestation of God's holy presence. As Moses ascended, the people below witnessed this awe-inspiring sight, which reinforced the seriousness and sanctity of the occasion. During his time on the mountain, Moses received the Ten Commandments directly from God. These laws were inscribed on 2 stone tablets, symbolizing their divine origin and enduring significance. Moses' role as the intermediary between God and the Israelites was crucial, as he conveyed God's will to the people and guided them in adhering to these commandments. The experience on Mount Sinai profoundly impacted Moses and the Israelites. It solidified their covenant relationship with God and provided a clear moral framework for their lives. Moses' encounter with God on Mount Sinai remains a foundational story in the Judeo-Christian tradition, emphasizing the importance of obedience, faith, and divine guidance. Covenant with God. 10 Commandments represent the core of the covenant between God and the Israelites. This covenant was a binding agreement in which God promised to be their God, and the Israelites, in turn, pledged to follow his laws and commandments. It was a relationship based on mutual commitment and faithfulness. This covenant was unique in the ancient world. Unlike other deities who demanded loyalty through fear and power, God sought a relationship based on love, trust, and obedience. The Ten Commandments served as the terms of this covenant, outlining the ethical and moral standards expected of the Israelites. By adhering to the Ten Commandments, the Israelites demonstrated their allegiance to God and their commitment to living according to his will. The commandments covered aspects of worship, social justice, and personal conduct, reflecting God's concern for every part of their lives. This comprehensive moral code set the Israelites apart from other nations. The covenant was reaffirmed throughout Israel's history, reminding them of their special relationship with God. Prophets and leaders often called the people back to this covenant, urging them to remain faithful to the commandments. This enduring covenant relationship is a central theme in the Bible, illustrating the deep bond between God and his people. The role of Moses as a mediator. Moses' role as a mediator between God and the Israelites was pivotal during the giving of the Ten Commandments. As a leader chosen by God, Moses acted as the intermediary who conveyed God's laws to the people and interceded on their behalf. His unique position required him to bridge the gap between the divine and human realms. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai, he entered into the presence of God, receiving the Ten Commandments and other laws that would govern the Israelites. This close communion with God highlighted Moses' special role and the trust placed in him to faithfully deliver God's message. Moses' leadership was marked by humility and obedience. qualities essential for a mediator. Moses' mediation was crucial during moments of crisis. When the Israelites created the golden calf and turned away from God, Moses interceded for them, pleading with God to forgive their transgressions. His prayers and pleas demonstrated his deep care for the people and his commitment to maintaining their covenant relationship with God. Throughout his leadership, Moses continually guided the Israelites in understanding and following the commandments. His role as a mediator ensured that the divine laws were communicated accurately and that the people had a clear example to follow. Moses' life and leadership remain a testament to the importance of faithful mediation and obedience to God's will. The ethical and moral framework, the Ten Commandments, provide a comprehensive ethical and moral framework for human conduct. These commandments cover fundamental aspects of worship, personal behavior, and social justice, establishing a code of ethics that promotes a just and harmonious society. Each commandment addresses specific actions and attitudes that contribute to the overall well-being of the community. The first 4 commandments focus on the relationship between God and humanity, emphasizing the importance of exclusive worship, reverence for God's name, and the observance of the Sabbath. These commandments highlight the foundational principle of honoring and prioritizing God in all aspects of life, ensuring that the Israelites' worship and devotion remain pure and undivided. The remaining 6 commandments address interpersonal relationships, promoting values such as respect for parents, the sanctity of life, marital fidelity, honesty, and contentment. These commandments provide clear guidelines for maintaining justice, integrity, and compassion within the community. By adhering to these principles, the Israelites could foster a society characterized by mutual respect and moral responsibility. The ethical and moral framework of the Ten Commandments has had a lasting impact on various cultures and legal systems. These timeless principles continue to inspire individuals and communities to pursue justice, righteousness, and ethical conduct. The Ten Commandments remind us of the importance of living in accordance with divine standards and contributing to the common good. The influence of Egyptian culture, the Ten Commandments, were given to a people who had recently emerged from centuries of living in Egypt. This long period of exposure to Egyptian culture, religion, and social practices influenced the Israelites in various ways. Understanding the contrast between Egyptian culture and the Ten Commandments helps us appreciate the transformative impact these laws had on the Israelites. Egyptian society was characterized by a complex pantheon of gods, elaborate rituals, and a rigid social hierarchy. The Israelites, having lived as slaves under Egyptian rule, were familiar with these religious and social structures. However, the Ten Commandments introduced a radically different worldview, emphasizing monotheism, ethical behavior, and social justice. First commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me," directly challenged the polytheistic practices of Egypt. This commandment established the foundation for monotheism, calling the Israelites to exclusive worship of the one true God. It marked a significant departure from the religious pluralism of their former life in Egypt. Moreover, the commandments addressed social and ethical issues in ways that contrasted with Egyptian practices. Prohibition against theft, false testimony, and coveting promoted honesty and integrity, challenging the corruption and injustice that were prevalent in Egyptian society. The Ten Commandments provided a new ethical and moral standard that redefined the Israelites' identity and way of life. The importance of exclusive worship. The importance of exclusive worship is emphasized in the first commandment, "You shall have no other gods before me." This commandment underscored the necessity of monotheism and the rejection of idolatry. For the Israelites, who had been surrounded by the polytheistic culture of Egypt, this directive was a call to complete devotion to the one true God. Exclusive worship was crucial for maintaining the purity of the Israelites' faith. In a world filled with various deities and religious practices, God demanded that his people reject all these divinities and dedicate themselves exclusively to him, reinforcing the uniqueness of the God of Israel. This requirement for exclusivity was also a matter of loyalty. Worshipping other gods was seen as a betrayal, comparable to infidelity in a marital relationship. God described himself as jealous, showing his desire for an intimate and exclusive relationship with his people. This exclusive commitment was essential for maintaining the purity and integrity of the Israelite faith. The importance of exclusivity in worship remains relevant today. It underscores the need for total devotion to God and rejection of any modern idols that may divert our loyalty. This commandment reminds us that God must occupy the first place in our lives, being the only one worthy of our worship and service. Preservation of holiness. The preservation of holiness is a recurring theme in the Ten Commandments. God instructed the Israelites not to take his name in vain, highlighting the need for reverence and respect when referring to him. This commandment aimed to avoid the irreverent or trivial use of God's sacred name, thereby maintaining the holiness associated with it. Another aspect of preserving holiness was the observance of the Sabbath. God commanded that the seventh day be set apart as a day of rest and worship. This commandment not only provided physical rest but also reinforced the need for a time dedicated exclusively to God, allowing for a deeper relationship. Holiness was also reflected in interpersonal relationships. Commandments such as, "You shall not commit adultery," and "You shall not steal," promoted moral purity and respect for others' rights and property. These commandments ensured that the community upheld standards of behavior that reflected God's holiness. The concept of holiness extends beyond the religious context. It involves living a life that honors God through our actions, words, and thoughts. Preserving holiness means maintaining a standard of conduct that reflects the sacredness of our relationship with God and the ethical principle he has given us. The role of the Sabbath. The Sabbath commandment holds a unique place among the Ten Commandments, emphasizing the importance of rest and worship. Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy, called the Israelites to set aside the seventh day of the week as a sacred time for rest and spiritual reflection. The Sabbath was rooted in the creation narrative, where God rested on the seventh day after creating the heavens and the earth. This divine rest established a pattern for humanity, highlighting the significance of ceasing from labor and dedicating time to God. The Sabbath served as a weekly reminder of God's creative power and his provision. Observing the Sabbath had practical benefits for the Israelites. It provided physical rest from their labors, promoting health and well-being. It also fostered a sense of community, as families and individuals gathered for worship and fellowship. The Sabbath was a time to reconnect with God, strengthening their faith and reliance on him. The Sabbath commandment continues to be relevant in promoting balance and spiritual renewal. In a fast-paced and demanding world, setting aside time for rest and worship is essential for maintaining a healthy and meaningful life. The Sabbath reminds us to prioritize our relationship with God, to find rest in his presence. Prohibition of idolatry. Prohibition of idolatry is a central theme in the Ten Commandments, emphasizing the importance of worshiping God alone. "You shall not make for yourself a carved image," forbids the creation and worship of idols, reflecting the monotheistic foundation, Israel's faith. This commandment was crucial for maintaining the purity and exclusivity of their worship. Idolatry was prevalent in the ancient world, with many cultures creating and venerating physical representations of their gods. The Israelites, having lived in Egypt, were familiar with such practices. However, God called them to a higher standard, prohibiting the worship of any form of created image. This commandment underscored the transcendence and uniqueness of God. The prohibition of idolatry extended beyond physical idols to include any object, person, or concept that could take God's place in the hearts and lives of the Israelites. It was a call to recognize and reject all forms of false worship and to remain devoted solely to God. This commandment reinforced the importance of an undivided heart in worship. The relevance of this commandment persists today, reminding us to guard against modern forms of idolatry. Anything that we prioritize over God, whether it be material possessions, relationships, or personal ambitions, can become an idol. This commandment challenges us to examine our lives and ensure that God remains the center of our worship and devotion. Respect for parents. The commandment to honor your father and your mother emphasizes the importance of respecting and valuing family relationships. This commandment highlights the foundational role of the family in society and the need for mutual respect and care between generations. Honoring parents involves more than mere obedience. It encompasses showing love, respect, and gratitude for their role in our lives. This commandment recognized the wisdom and experience of parents, encouraging children to value their guidance and support. It also implied a responsibility to care for aging parents, ensuring their well-being and dignity. This commandment had significant implications for the stability and cohesion of Israelite society. By promoting respect for parental authority, it reinforced the family unit as the primary social structure. This respect extended to all forms of authority, promoting a culture of honor and respect within the community. In contemporary society, honoring parents remains a vital principle. It fosters strong family bonds and promotes a culture of respect and care. This commandment challenges us to appreciate and support our parents, recognizing their sacrifices and contributions to our lives. It also serves as a reminder of the broader importance of respect for authority and elders. The sanctity of life. The commandment, "You shall not murder," underscores the sanctity and value of human life. This prohibition against taking another person's life highlights the fundamental ethical principle that life is sacred and must be protected. This commandment serves as a cornerstone for the moral and legal standards of justice and respect for life. The sanctity of life is rooted in the belief that every human being is created in the image of God. This divine image imparts inherent worth and dignity to every individual, making the act of murder not only a crime against the person, but also an offense against God. Commandment against murder reflects the value that God places on human life. This commandment also promotes social harmony and justice. By prohibiting murder, it safeguards the community against violence and retribution. It establishes a clear moral boundary that protects individuals and promotes a peaceful and orderly society. The sanctity of life is a principle that underpins many ethical and legal systems worldwide. In modern times, the commandment against murder continues to resonate, reminding us of the importance of valuing and protecting human life. It challenges us to uphold the dignity of every person and to advocate for justice and peace in our communities. This commandment remains a timeless affirmation of the sacredness of life. The call to marital fidelity. The commandment, "You shall not commit adultery," emphasizes the importance of marital fidelity and the sanctity of the marriage covenant. This prohibition against adultery underscores the commitment to faithfulness and trust within the marital relationship, reflecting God's design for marriage. Adultery undermines the trust and stability of marriage, leading to emotional and relational harm. This commandment aims to protect the integrity of the marriage bond, ensuring that both partners remain loyal and committed to each other. By prohibiting adultery, God was promoting healthy, stable, and loving families. The commandment also reflects the broader principle of fidelity in all relationships. It calls for faithfulness, honesty, and integrity, not only in marriage but in all aspects of life. This commitment to fidelity builds trust and respect within the community, promoting social harmony and stability. In contemporary society, call to marital fidelity remains crucial. It challenges us to honor our commitments and to nurture relationships built on trust and love. This commandment reminds us of the importance of integrity and faithfulness, both in our personal lives and in our interactions with others. The prohibition of false testimony. Commandment, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor," addresses the importance of truth and integrity in all forms of communication. This prohibition against false testimony emphasizes the need for honesty and justice in both personal and legal matters. False testimony can cause significant harm, leading to wrongful accusations, damaged reputations, and unjust outcomes. In the context of a legal trial, bearing false witness can result in the innocent being punished and the guilty going free, disrupting the system of justice. This commandment underscores the importance of truthfulness in maintaining justice and fairness. The prohibition also extends to everyday interactions, promoting honesty and integrity in all communication. Slander, defamation, and lying are condemned as they undermine trust and social cohesion. God desired his people to reflect his own truth and justice in all their words and actions. Respecting this commandment is essential for maintaining trust and integrity in human relationships. It reminds us of the importance of speaking truthfully and living in a way that promotes justice and honor, protecting the reputation and rights of others. The prohibition of coveting. The prohibition of coveting in the Ten Commandments addresses internal attitudes and desires that can lead to transgressing other commandments. You shall not covet is a principle that aims to control disordered desires and lead to sinful actions, promoting contentment and gratitude. Coveting a neighbor's house, spouse, servants, animals, or anything that belongs to them reveals dissatisfaction with the blessings God has given us. This commandment aims to redirect the focus of the human heart towards gratitude and trust in divine provision, avoiding destructive comparisons and envy. Coveting can lead to other transgressions, such as theft, adultery, false testimony. By addressing the root problem, internal desires, this commandment promotes purity of heart and mind. God desired his people to live in contentment and trust, recognizing that he provides for all their needs. Respecting this commandment is essential for cultivating a grateful heart and a satisfied life. It reminds us of the importance of valuing what we have and trusting in God's provision, avoiding disordered desires that can lead to harmful behaviors. The influence of the Ten Commandments on Western society. The Ten Commandments have had a profound influence on the ethical and legal frameworks of Western society. These biblical principles have shaped the moral foundation of many nations, influencing civil laws and codes of conduct that promote justice, honesty, and respect for human rights. Many modern legal systems incorporate concepts derived from the Ten Commandments, such as the prohibition of murder, theft, and false testimony. These commandments served as a universal moral standard, accepted by various cultures and religions, establishing a common foundation for peaceful and just coexistence. Beyond legal impact, the Ten Commandments have also influenced personal ethics and morality. They provided clear guidelines for individual behavior, promoting values such as honesty, fidelity, and respect for authority. The influence of the commandments is reflected in various areas of life, family to business and politics. Influence of the Ten Commandments in Western society remains relevant. They serve as a constant reminder of the importance of living according to high moral principles, promoting a just and compassionate society. These commandments transcend time and culture, offering a guide for ethical and meaningful living. The Ten Commandments in Christian ethics. In Christian ethics, the Ten Commandments hold a central place, serving as a foundational moral code. Jesus Christ affirmed and expanded upon these commandments, emphasizing the principles of love and internal transformation. He summarized the law in the two greatest commandments, love for God and love for neighbor. The Ten Commandments are seen not only as rules to be followed, but as expressions of love and devotion to God. Jesus taught that true obedience goes beyond external adherence to the commandments, requiring a transformation of life. This internalization of the law is reflected in teachings such as the Sermon on the Mount. The commandments guide Christians in their daily conduct, promoting a life of integrity, compassion, and justice. They provide clear boundaries and ethical principles that help believers navigate complex moral situations. The commandments serve as a mirror, reflecting areas where repentance and growth are needed. Christian ethics continue to draw from the Ten Commandments, emphasizing their relevance in contemporary life. They remind believers of the importance of living in a way that honors God and serves others, reflecting the love and righteousness of Christ in all areas of life. The significance of the tablets of stone. The tablets of stone on which the Ten Commandments were inscribed hold significant symbolic and historical importance. These tablets, given to Moses on Mount Sinai, represented the permanence and divine authority of God's law. They were tangible reminders of the covenant between God and the Israelites. The stone tablets symbolize the enduring nature of the commandments, emphasizing that God's law is unchanging and eternal. Unlike laws written on paper, which could be easily altered or destroyed, the stone tablets conveyed a sense of permanence and unbreakable commitment. These tablets were placed in the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest that represented God's presence among his people. The Ark, and by extension the tablets, became central to Israelite worship and religious life. They were carried before the people during their journeys and battles, symbolizing God's guidance and protection. The significance of the tablets extends beyond their physical form. They remind us of the enduring nature of God's principles and the importance of living according to His command. The tablets of stone serve as a powerful symbol of the divine foundation upon which the moral and ethical life of the Israelites and later Christians built. The relevance of the Ten Commandments today. The relevance of the Ten Commandments in contemporary society cannot be overstated. Despite the passage of millennia, these timeless principles continue to provide ethical guidance and moral clarity in an increasingly complex world. They offer a framework for personal conduct, social justice, and community well-being. Commandments address fundamental aspects of human behavior, such as honesty, respect, and fidelity. In a world where ethical relativism often prevails, 10 Commandments provide a clear and objective standard for right and wrong. They challenge individuals and societies to uphold values that promote justice, compassion, and integrity. The principles embodied in the 10 Commandments transcend cultural and religious boundaries. They resonate with universal human experiences and aspirations, promoting a vision of a just and harmonious society. The commandments encourage us to live with integrity, respect for others, and devotion to higher moral ideals. In modern times, the 10 Commandments serve as a reminder of the importance of ethical living and the pursuit of justice. They challenge us to examine our lives and communities, striving to align our actions with these enduring principles. The relevance of the 10 Commandments lies in their ability to inspire and guide us towards a more just and compassionate world. The legacy of the 10 Commandments. The legacy of the 10 Commandments extends far beyond their historical context, influencing countless generations and shaping the moral and ethical landscape of many cultures. These divine principles have left an indelible mark on religious traditions, legal systems, and individual lives, guiding humanity towards a higher standard of conduct. Throughout history, the 10 Commandments have inspired movements for justice and reform. Leaders and reformers have drawn upon these commandments to advocate for human rights, equality, and social justice. The commandments' emphasis on justice, honesty, and respect for human dignity has fueled efforts to create fairer and more equitable society. The 10 Commandments continue to be a source of spiritual and moral inspiration. They remind us of the importance of living in accordance with divine principles and striving for personal and communal righteousness. Their enduring legacy is a testament to their profound impact on the ethical and spiritual life of humanity. In the modern world, the 10 Commandments challenge us to uphold their principles in our daily lives. They call us to live with integrity, compassion, and respect for others, reflecting the timeless values that have guided humanity for millennia. The legacy of the 10 Commandments is a legacy of justice, morality, and faithfulness that continues to shape our world.